Hello and welcome back. This is MC1 Gamer, and I'm bringing you something a little bit different this time. With the ongoing series that I'm going to be introducing regarding converting up various different types of models, I wanted to bring it to my subscribers and anybody else who might be interested in tuning in the option of telling me what they think I should do. I have systematically over the past year or so been working through a huge model count of vampire counts that have now been compounded by the addition of the end times undead legions possibilities of with new Tomb Kings models, and I'm converting everything. I'm converting just about every model possible. Some character models I'm going to leave, but I'm even mashing up some of those guys to make my own models. And because I'm doing a Muslin theme, or Mouselin theme, or Moselin, I don't know how it's pronounced. I just like it because it gives me a bridge between Bretonnians and vampire counts. They're really cool and different theme. Other people have done it. I'm not the first. There are plenty of people that I've been using as my inspiration. Pictures I've seen, other armies that have been made. I love this army. But now that I'm moving into more of an Undead Legions option, when I'm not playing just vampire counts, I'm starting to bring in some more Tomb Kings models into my army. I'm using some of my models that were going to be Fellbats as also potentially on occasion Carrion. They work real well. I'm using the Carrion wings as decrepit feathered wings of the Pegasi anyway, and they're on the same base. I just declare what they are and make sure that I'm using a specific model for it, and it's not a problem. But it fits very much with my army because they're basically withered away, skeletal, zombie-ish Pegasi. But other things I've been incorporating as well. I got this cool model from Reaper, which I think really fits very well, and I'm going to put it together, and I will showcase it on a future episode. And I'm doing some other things as well. I'm not going crazy. I mean, I'm not incorporating everything from the Tomb Kings army, just certain things that I really like. One of the things that I think is absolutely just the coolest is the Warsphinx. There are some things in the Tomb King army that are just epically cool, and I think the Warsphinx is one of them. I've seen it on Lord Tremendous's channel of late, and he seems to fall in love with it, but it doesn't quite fit the army that I'm building. I want to keep the theme that I'm using, which is very much vampire counts, but again, the Red Duke, fallen Grail Knights, failed questing knights as my Hex Wraiths. The Grail Knights are the Blood Knights. My Black Knights are Knights of the Realm that followed their Liege Lord into Undeath. My Men-at-Arms and Peasants are my zombies, sometimes also my skeletons, which I'm still building up. I'm going to be incorporating skeletal archers from the Tomb Kings because they fit perfectly with the archers from the Bretonnian army. I didn't have that option with just vampire counts to bring that into the army, so now I do. But I like the idea of the Cryptars as werewolves. I actually had a thought of making my my Terrorgheists as werewolves, but that's just a huge conversion that I just think that I may have to put Whale on the back burner. I already own 2 of them. I love the Terrorgheist model as it is. Bats still work within the army, but I have this big werewolf theme. I've converted the Cryptars to be werewolves. I've got lots of dire wolves that are very obviously they're wolfy, and I just have this idea of making the Warsphinx, instead of riding a giant stone cat, riding a giant stone wolf and putting a howdah on the back of it. So here's my thought. I need a big enough model that will fit and take the entirety of a chariot base that is a wolf, and it can't be an upright wolf. It has to be a wolf that's on all fours, or maybe leaping or lunging, but it has to be profoundly bigger than a dire wolf. It has to be almost the size of the Stegodons in terms of overall girth and height and size. And then I want to, instead of putting the howdah from the Tomb Kings on it, I'm going to take the chassis from the corpse cart, and I'm going to put that on it, and I'm going to have people, characters, some skeletons that are going to occupy it as the Tomb Guard crew. But I'm also going to put, I'm going to have an option where I can put a Tomb King, a character on there, so that I can mix and match, which is what I've been doing with a lot of my models. So I'm magnetized crazy. So everything's magnetized: arms, heads, flags, standards, weapons. In some cases, like my Vargheists, I can convert them to be. They can be my Vargheists, or they can be actually horse mounts, or in my mounted army, or they're the horse mounts for my blood knights. So I've got a lot of different options, and I like doing that. So this is kind of what I'm thinking, but I need an idea. I need somebody to help me with some ideas on a big enough wolf model that makes to make this. Beyond that, I wanted to get people's opinions. Am I wasting my time? The Warsphinx is a phenomenal model. It has some great advantages. I mean, it's nice in that it can move at 6. Obviously, with the end times rules, it now can march if it's near the general. It's got a decent weapon skill at 4. The Terrorgheist is a paltry 3. Terrorgheist can move at 6 too, but they can fly. That's huge. The Warsphinx doesn't have impact hits because it's not a chariot. It's also a monster, but it's got a strength 5. Now, Terrorgheist is also strength 5. Terrorgheist is toughness 6. Warsphinx toughness 8. Big difference. 5 wounds on the Warsphinx only. Terrorgheist has got 6, but the Terrorgheist has got some real blaring disadvantages. Among them, the fact that it only has, as for a defense, it's regenerate 6. Now, this could be bolstered with a lot of other things. For instance, dual mortis engines, even single mortis engines. Fire can mitigate that. But maybe you're using the Garden of Moor, which also can help it. But still, it's really a glass cannon. It may have a high toughness, but cannons will rip through it and do multiple wounds, sometimes take it out in one shot, especially multiple shots. Terrorgeists go down fast. Now, once they start taking wounds, their abilities, which, if you don't know, is phenomenal. Their ability to scream into combat that they're not in, out of combat that they're in, basically scream anywhere they want, and do tremendous amounts of wounds, even with a mediocre roll. It's a roll against the leadership of the unit or the model, and you're rolling 2d6 plus its wounds, which means you can get up to 18. I have deleted entire units with this guy, and I don't think I need to tell anybody who's a seasoned player who's gone up against vampire counts how really devastating they can be. They also can be a big disappointment. You wound them a little bit, that 2d6, you're not going to roll 6 all the time. Suddenly you're rolling 2d6 plus 3. And if you roll mediocre, you may not even get a wound, because some of these elite troops have leaderships of 9. Maybe the general's in range, you get leadership 10. You don't get anything. You don't do anything, and that can be a real big disappointment. So that's a big thing. Their biggest thing is the fact that they can do these damage with no armor saves. They can fly, and they can get into combat very easily. They can get into range rather of their screen very easily. But as soon as they start taking damage, their effectiveness diminishes, plummets, and they're easy to remove from the board. The Warsphinx is a little bit harder, but it doesn't have quite the punch that a fully healed up and healthy Terrorgheist does. A Warsphinx has a lower initiative, so it's very, very susceptible at initiative 1 versus, not great, but initiative 3 for the Terrorgheist. It's not the most wonderful thing to have initiative 1 if you're going up against some spells that will remove the model if you fail an initiative test or do tremendous damage. It's got a 4 attack, same as the Terrorgheist. It at least has an 8 leadership. Now, we're not crumbling in this day of end times with Undead Legion, so I'm not as worried about if I lose my general that I'm going to lose my Terrorgheist anymore. But that leadership 4 is still a big deal, and that could come into play with certain spells as well. The Warsphinx has a great Thunder Crush attack. Its crew can Killing Blow. These are good abilities. You can upgrade it to be roughly around the same points, for 5 points more than a Terrorgheist without any upgrades. You can get that Flaming attack. So it has other abilities, but it's not going to easily get into combat as easily as a Terrorgheist can, being that it can fly. And all you need to have is you start out with your general, or even have your general at any point before you make its move within 12 inches. And this puppy's going off 20 inches. The Warsphinx is not. Warsphinx is moving at most 12. That's pretty slow, and even though it's not movement 4, it is fairly slow. It's going to take a while to get it into combat, and it's certainly people are going to see it coming, and they can react to it much more easily. But it has greater survivability. It has better armor, better defenses, even though some of those defenses are probably going to very easily be reduced because in the day and age of strength 6 and strength 5, you're going to be reducing that any armor, any base armor it might have. But it doesn't have a ward save or anything. I mean, it doesn't even have the 6-up regen that a Terrorgheist has. But that toughness 8 is phenomenal. I mean, it may not be a big deal against strength 10 cannons, but it's still a big deal. And so these are the things I'm wrestling with, and I'll tell you why I'm really getting at this. What if I'm summoning these guys? I don't know if I'll actually start with them in some of my Undead Legions armies. I may, but what if I'm looking to actually have them in my on my reserve pile, where if I summon them up with I think it's called Cataract. It's a level 5 spell. If I get enough dice and I roll high enough, and I don't have a dispel scroll thrown at me, whatever the scenario is, I've gotten a couple of these off on some of these games. Would I want a Warsphinx over a Terrorgheist? What do you think? Before I dive into converting up what could be a fairly expensive model and take the time to do it, time away from painting the many models I have and converting the ones that are still on my long list of to-dos, should I go down this road? Or should I just say, hey, this Warsphinx is just not as cool as a Terrorgheist? And I already have 2 Terrorgeists, one which can be magnetized and changed up to be a zombie dragon. Or would it just be cool to have this diversity? Let me know what you think. I'd really be interested in your opinion, as well as any suggestions you might have in terms of the model. Please send me a link or the name of the model if you think that this is something that you'd like to see. And I'll just add it to my list, maybe throw it up to the top once I'm finished with my current paint project. That'll be the next thing that I have on deck. Thank you for tuning in, and have a great day.